I had just given birth to my second child, Jack, and it was finally the day I got to go home from the hospital. I dressed Jack in a vibrant blue baby outfit that was given to us by my mother-in-law, Catherine. She had kept it safe all these years. It was the same outfit my husband wore when he was born. She brought it over while I was in the hospital, saying she wanted her beloved grandson to wear the same clothes her dear son had worn. As I carried Jack into our home and opened our front door, I heard the sound of little feet running down the hallway.
Mom! Jack! Welcome home. Jack, I'm your big sister.
My daughter, Emily, came rushing towards us with a beaming smile. I bent down a bit so she could get a better look at Jack in my arms. Emily, I'm sorry you had to be alone for a bit. This is your little brother, Jack. I'm going to put him to bed because he's tired. After I placed Jack in the crib and turned around, I noticed Emily was trembling. Was she that excited? I guess she really understood what it meant to be a big sister now. As I started to walk towards Emily to give her a hug, she suddenly shouted,
Burn it right now.
I was left in shock, unable to comprehend what was happening.
Hurry up and burn it. I don't like it.
Emily cried out, pointing at Jack, while tears streamed down her face. Burn it. This is your brother.
I don't like it. Hurry up.
I was so taken aback that I could only stand there in disbelief. But a few days later, a series of terrifying and unexplainable events began to unfold that would drain the blood from my face. My name is Michelle. I married Greg, who is 5 years older than me, a long time ago, and we've had a happy life together. Greg was raised as the only child of his parents, and his mother, Catherine, took great care of him. Because of that, he's always been a loving and supportive husband to me. I also have 2 more people who are very dear to me.
Mom, I'm home.
Welcome back, Emily.
Yeah. Jack, I'm back. Mom, can I touch your tummy?
I nodded, and her face lit up with joy. As she gently placed her hand on my belly, her smile grew even brighter, filling my heart with happiness.
Jack, it's your big sister here. I wonder when we'll finally meet.
Just a little longer.
Really? I can't wait. Oh, Mom, he just moved. Do you think Jack is excited to meet me?
This spring, my daughter Emily started elementary school. And next week, my son Jack is due to be born. Emily is so curious about her soon-to-arrive little brother that she touches my belly the moment she gets home from school. The way she touches it, as if it were the most precious thing in the world, always makes me smile with joy. Even when I couldn't move around much due to my pregnancy, Emily was always eager to help out, and it's been such a blessing. She's a sensitive child, but very understanding, so I'm sure she'll be a great big sister who guides her little brother with kindness. Although she's a bit of a scaredy cat, I believe she'll grow stronger and braver once she has a little brother to look after. I'm excited to see how the 2 of them will bond as siblings.
Mom, Grandma's coming.
Really? Grandma isn't coming today.
No, she's coming soon.
Sometimes Emily says strange things. She has a knack for predicting what's about to happen or avoiding places she feels are unsafe, like an empty park she once refused to enter, saying there was a bad person there. It's odd how often her instincts are right. Children's intuition is truly a mystery. As I was chatting with Emily about her day at school, I suddenly heard our front door open.
Michelle, I'm here again today.
Called out my mother-in-law, Catherine. I was taken aback, realizing that Emily's prediction had been spot on. Ever since I told her I was pregnant with Jack, Catherine's visits have become more frequent under the pretext of helping out. Honestly, it's a bit stressful, but I keep quiet because complaining would just lead to unnecessary drama, like her suggesting we get a divorce.
Oh, not even a welcome at the door? You're so cold.
Emily, go upstairs. Don't come down until I say it's okay.
Mom, I'm scared.
It's all right, Emily. I'm here with you. There are plenty of dolls upstairs. Now, go on. Ignoring the voice from the entryway, I watched as Emily climbed the stairs. Once she was safely upstairs, I dragged my heavy body towards the front door. Welcome, Catherine.
Oh, Michelle, you took your time.
I'm sorry, but I'm close to giving birth and having a hard time moving. So what brings you here today?
Oh, right. I wanted to give you this today. A custom-made towel with Jack's name on it. And this one is his toy.
Catherine said this as she started pulling out items one after another from the large paper bag she was holding. The once tidy living room floor was quickly covered. Well, I really appreciate you getting these things, but we already have plenty of toys that Emily used. So we're good.
What? You plan on letting my precious grandson use hand-me-downs?
Wait, hand-me-downs. And why is this only for Jack? You didn't seem to care at all when it was for Emily.
Oh no, I did give something for Emily too, remember? A cash gift at her birth.
That's not what I mean. From the beginning, Catherine had always wanted a grandson and showed no interest in Emily. She didn't even give her a Christmas gift or talk to her, even when she was right in front of her. Catherine had always doted on her son, Greg, and seemed to dislike me as well. But when her long-awaited grandson turned out to be the wrong gender, her resentment towards me intensified, and she began suggesting that I was an incompetent wife and even that we should get a divorce. However, the moment she found out that our next child would be a boy, her attitude changed dramatically. Although her harassment of me continued, she started buying all sorts of things for Jack. But it was always just for Jack, never for Emily. That's why I always tell Emily to go play upstairs so she doesn't get hurt.
So, your due date is soon, right?
Yes, it's supposed to be next week.
Hurry up and have him, will you? I'm sure little Jack is eager to meet his grandma.
Without warning, Catherine suddenly reached out and touched my belly. The way she touched it and what she said made me feel incredibly uneasy. I thought it would be better to tell Bob, her husband, and ask him to stop her from coming over. Bob was already retired and usually stayed home. He's a gentle man and generally tries to avoid conflict, so he probably doesn't say anything about where Catherine goes. Bob is fond of Emily and even gives her some money secretly, so I'm sure he would help. With my due date approaching, I didn't want to move around much or get stressed from talking to Catherine. As I sat there, half listening to Catherine's endless complaints, I found myself zoning out. And then, a few days later, as I was resting like usual, I was suddenly hit with a sharp pain in my abdomen. My labor had started. I couldn't help but let out a small groan, and Emily immediately rushed over, worried.
Mom, are you okay?
I reassured her by patting her head and then quickly called my mom. Soon after, Greg, who had taken time off work in anticipation of the birth, took me straight to the hospital. Since this was my second child, there was no panic, and I safely delivered the baby. A few hours later, I was holding that tiny life in my arms. Hello, Jack. It's Mommy. Nice to meet you.
It's Daddy. You'll get to meet your big sister soon.
Newborn Jack was crying energetically in my arms. I gently stroked his small body, silently wishing that he would walk a happy path in life from here on out. A few days passed, and my body had mostly recovered when Catherine and Bob came to visit.
Oh, Jack, how adorable. Our first grandson.
Catherine exclaimed loudly as soon as she entered, immediately reaching over to stroke the head of the sleeping Jack beside me. Catherine, I'm sorry. I know you're excited, but he just fell asleep, so if you could be careful not to wake him.
That's right. Congratulations, Michelle, on the birth. Are you feeling okay?
Yes, I'm feeling great, especially since this is my second time.
Oh, Bob, please don't compare this birth with Emily's. Jack is the heir of our family.
That's not a nice thing to say. Sorry, Michelle.
It's okay. I'm used to it. I felt a twinge of irritation at Catherine's belittling remark about Emily, but seeing Bob's apologetic expression, I held back my anger. Greg also gave a wry smile.
Michelle, taking care of a newborn by yourself must be tough. Don't you think it would be easier if we all lived together?
I'm not by myself. I help out with the housework and childcare, so there's no need to worry, Mom.
But
Besides, if we moved in, you'd just end up making Michelle do all the work instead of helping, right?
I wouldn't do that. Right, Michelle?
Well, yes. I could never say, "It's always like this," out loud. This wasn't the first time Catherine had suggested we live together. Every time I made a mistake, she would express her doubts about me as a wife, but Greg, knowing about her treatment of me, had always refused. Yet, she never gave up, constantly making the same suggestion, though our stance on the matter never changed. I couldn't stand the idea of living together, enduring her constant snide remarks towards both me and Emily every day.
Oh, right. You came to give us something today, didn't you?
That's right. I almost forgot. I wanted to give you this.
Suddenly remembering, thanks to Bob's reminder, Catherine hastily pulled something out of the paper bag she was holding. It was a blue baby dress. The color was bright, but the design made it clear that it was quite old.
This is the outfit I dressed Greg in when he was born. I really want little Jack to wear it too.
Oh, I think I've seen it in my picture before. I can't believe you kept it all this time.
Of course. It was a gift for my precious Greg. I made sure to keep it safe.
But is it okay to give something like that away?
Of course, he's my precious grandson.
I couldn't help but feel a little resentment toward Catherine, remembering how nothing was prepared when I had Emily. But the baby dress was in perfect condition, clearly showing how much care went into preserving it. She must have raised Greg with pure love. Feeling that, I decided to accept the baby dress.
Make sure you dress him in this when you leave the hospital. You have to, okay?
Oh yes, I understand. Thank you. I was a bit puzzled by Catherine's mysterious insistence, but I decided to go along with it to avoid any trouble. Once I agreed, she nodded with satisfaction and left.
Here's something for little Emily.
In a hurry, Bob placed some snacks on the table and went after Catherine. They're like a whirlwind.
I'm sorry about that, Michelle. My parents can be a bit much.
No, it's okay. I was just surprised. I didn't know Catherine was the type to keep things like that.
My mom's kept all my clothes and even my awards, even though I've told her she could throw them away.
I've known Greg for a long time, but this was the first time I'd heard the story. It's heartwarming to think of parents who cherish their children's keepsakes like that. I'll make sure to keep Emily and Jack's things too. One day, when they start their own families, I want to pass these memories on to them. Until then, I'll pour all my love into them. I don't want to become the kind of parent who can't let go.
Well, I should head home now. Emily must be missing me. I'll give her these snacks. Just a little longer until you're discharged, so take it easy, okay?
With that, Greg left the hospital room. Talking with people is really fun, but it does tire me out a bit after giving birth. Looking down at Jack, who was still asleep in my arms, I felt a renewed sense of happiness and slowly closed my eyes. On the day of discharge, just as Catherine had asked, I dressed Jack in the baby dress she had given us before leaving the hospital. When we got home, I opened the front door and immediately heard the sound of little feet running down the hallway.
Mom! Jack! Welcome back. Jack, I'm your big sister.
Emily came rushing over with a big smile. I leaned forward a bit to make it easier for her to see Jack in my arms, and she suddenly stopped in her tracks. Emily, I'm sorry we made you feel lonely. This is your little brother, Jack. As soon as I said that, Emily started trembling. Was she so happy that she was shaking? She must be really feeling what it means to be a big sister now. I took her hand, gently guiding it towards Jack, but Emily pulled her hand away and screamed.
Burn it right now.
I stood there stunned, not understanding what had just happened. Emily pointed at Jack and started crying.
Hurry up and burn it. I don't like it.
Burn it, but this is your little brother.
Not Jack. That dress. I don't like it.
It seemed that she was upset about the blue baby dress Jack was wearing. Greg quickly patted Emily on the back to calm her down and changed Jack into regular baby clothes. But Emily still wouldn't calm down. She kept her distance from the dress, trembling in fear, and begged us to burn it. Why do you want to burn it so badly? This is a special dress that Grandma gave us.
Because Jack will be taken away.
Tears streaming down her face, Emily cried out, refusing to be consoled. Taken away? By who? For what? My mind was spinning with confusion.
Emily, let's calm down. Mom and Dad believe what you're saying. So, can you tell us why you feel that way?
Emily nodded and began to speak in her shaky little voice.
I can see scary things. You guys might not understand, but they're there. There's a scary-looking grandma attached to that dress.
I didn't know what she meant by scary things, but it was clear Emily was sensing something that we couldn't see. It's true, she had always been able to predict when Catherine was coming over, and there have been other strange moments, like when she'd suddenly get scared during a walk and cling to us.
You know, when I was a kid, I was really sensitive to spirits too. I used to be scared of all sorts of things. Maybe Emily's the same way.
You mean she has some kind of sixth sense?
Maybe. Let's just throw it out tomorrow. We can't risk anything happening to Jack.
Greg took the baby dress from me and tossed it into the trash. Even though it was a special outfit, I knew this was the best decision. Right now, calming Emily down and protecting Jack were our top priorities as parents. Afterward, Greg knelt down in front of Emily, who was still trembling, and gently hugged her. As he stroked her head, he spoke softly with a warm expression.
Emily, thank you for telling us. When I was little, I could see scary things too, just like you. So you don't have to be scared alone, okay? You can always tell Mom or Dad.
Really?
Thank you for trying to protect Jack. You're such a great big sister.
Hearing that, Emily smiled happily, then fell asleep as if a weight had been lifted off her shoulders. Greg has always had a way of calming people down. His gentle voice makes you feel safe and relaxed. I remember how much I relied on him when I was anxious during my pregnancy. But this time, I can't just sit back and feel reassured. People say that children's intuition is often spot on, so I need to stay vigilant. I hope nothing happens.
I'll stay home as much as I can, but be careful just in case. Call me right away if anything happens.
I will.
Michelle, you must be exhausted. I'll watch Jack, so go ahead and get some sleep with Emily. Good night.
With that, I lay down next to Emily, holding her close for the first time in a while. I prayed that nothing would happen. The next day, as promised, we threw the baby dress out with the trash. I felt a little guilty about Catherine, but there was no guarantee that nothing would happen. Greg assured me that it was for the sake of the family, and if anything came up, he would handle it.
She's still here.
However, Emily remained uneasy and fidgety. No matter how many times I reassured her, she kept saying she was worried and wouldn't leave Jack's side. Despite this slightly unsettling atmosphere, a few days passed without incident. Goodbye, you two. Have a great day. One morning, after seeing Emily and Greg off, I locked the front door securely and sat down on the sofa. Jack was still sleeping, and I felt the exhaustion of the past few days catch up with me in the quietness of being alone for the first time in a while. Up until now, Greg had been working from home, so we'd been sharing the household chores and childcare duties. But today, he had an important meeting in the morning and had to go to his office. Jack's still asleep. Maybe I'll take a quick nap too. I lay down and closed my eyes. For a moment, Catherine crossed my mind, but she hadn't come over since before I gave birth, and nothing had happened so far, so I figured everything would be fine. With that rather naive thought, I drifted off into sleep.
Mom, wake up. Something's wrong. Wake up, quick.
In my dream, Emily was urgently pleading with me, and I suddenly woke up. I didn't know what was wrong, but a terrible sense of dread washed over me, and I broke out in a cold sweat. I frantically looked around the room. Nothing seemed out of place. Nothing had been disturbed. Except for one thing. The baby crib was empty. Jack! I threw aside the bedding and checked around the crib, but he was nowhere to be found. Where could he be? A newborn like him couldn't have gotten out of the crib by himself. What could have happened while I was napping? My mind was in a complete panic, unable to piece together what was happening. I grabbed my smartphone, thinking I should call Greg, when I heard a noise from the front door. Rushing over, I found Catherine standing there, holding Jack in her arms. Catherine, what are you doing? This is kidnapping. Catherine flinched at my raised voice, something she wasn't used to hearing from me, and her grip on Jack loosened slightly. I took that chance to push her aside and snatched Jack back from her. What on earth were you thinking? And how did you even get inside?
Oh, Michelle, you've got it all wrong. I just thought you might be having a hard time managing alone. So I was just going to take Jack back home with me.
That's what we call kidnapping, taking him without permission. I'm calling Greg and Bob right now.
Greg's at work, isn't he? And asking Bob to come all the way here. Look, I'll just leave now.
You're not going anywhere. They'll be here soon. Catherine muttered something under her breath, but I ignored it, keeping a close watch on her from the living room. Jack was right by my side, and I made sure to keep him as far away from Catherine as possible. I wouldn't let her touch him again.
Michelle, Jack, are you okay?
Greg rushed in, out of breath, less than 10 minutes later. I was so relieved his office was close to home.
Mom, what were you thinking?
I've told you already. I did it for all of you.
What?
Yes, for everyone. Jack would be happier if I raised him, and that way you could live with me again without any worries. Michelle could focus on raising Emily, and Emily would get to spend all her time with her mom. See, if Jack comes home with me, everyone will be happy.
Are you serious?
Of course. Don't you want to live with your dear mother again, Greg? You wouldn't have to bother with housework or childcare. I'd take care of everything for you.
Greg and I were both speechless at Catherine's casual declaration. Everyone would be happy? No, the only one who would be happy is Catherine.
Mom, I've told you multiple times that I don't want to live together.
Yes, but that's only because you were thinking of Michelle, right? So just you and Jack could come live with me.
No, that's not it. Sure, I used Michelle as an excuse, but the truth is, I've never wanted to live with you, Mom, especially not at the expense of my own family.
How can you say that? We'd still see each other all the time, and we'd be happier than ever.
We're a family of 4. If anyone is missing, there's no way we could be happier than before.
Greg sighed deeply, clearly frustrated with his mother's logic. I felt the same way. We're happy because we're all together. The thought of living apart just isn't something I can imagine. But Catherine didn't seem to understand this. She tilted her head in confusion, as if she was about to argue back, but just then, the doorbell rang.
I got Greg's message. Michelle, I'm truly sorry for all of this.
Oh, Bob, please don't apologize. You haven't done anything wrong. As soon as Bob entered the living room, he immediately apologized to me. His face made my heart ache. Bob hadn't done anything wrong.
No, this is my fault. I've spoiled Catherine for too long. I should have stopped her before it became a problem for you.
What do you mean?
Ever since you got home from the hospital, Catherine has been leaving the house every day. I got suspicious and followed her. She was hiding out in your yard, waiting.
I was so shocked I couldn't speak. She was practically stalking us.
At first, I thought she was just keeping an eye on Michelle, knowing things would be harder with a second child. But I never imagined she would try to take Jack.
Don't make it sound so bad. If Jack comes to live with us, Greg will come back too. You were lonely without him, weren't you?
Yes, I was lonely. But Greg found his own happiness, and it's not our place to take that away. Don't you understand that?
It was rare for Bob to apply such pressure, given his usually mild-mannered nature. It made me realize just how much this family had cherished Greg as he grew up. Because of that, Catherine couldn't bear the thought of life without him, and she resented me for taking him away. In essence, she was unable to let go of her child. That's likely why she came up with this plan to take Jack, thinking she could have her beloved grandson and bring her son back home at the same time. I know that years from now, when Emily and Jack grow up and leave home, I'll likely feel the same loneliness. I'll want to keep them close, to have them stay my little children forever. But that's just my selfish desire. It's not what they would want, and as adults, we have to understand and accept that. By the way, Catherine, how did you get into the house? I'm pretty sure I locked the door. I finally asked the question that had been nagging at me. Catherine averted her eyes, looking a bit uncomfortable, but then she responded with a surprising bluntness.
I made a spare key. I thought it would be useful in case something happened to Greg or Jack.
You did what?
Of course I did. I need to protect my son.
Protect. What you're doing is nothing but harassment and illegal trespassing.
How dare you? I'm only thinking of Greg's well-being.
The moment the word harassment was mentioned, Catherine's demeanor suddenly changed, as if a switch had been flipped.
Someone as unreliable as Michelle could never make Greg happy. That's why I have to protect him.
So that's why you've been harassing Michelle.
Exactly. Michelle's always getting sick, almost every month. Greg would be so much happier living with his mom than with such a weak wife.
Wait, how do you even know about that, Mom?
The heated argument came to an abrupt halt. The tense atmosphere that had been building suddenly turned cold. A sense of dread washed over me. Catherine had been coming to the house on days when it was just me, when Emily and Greg weren't home. She would come while I was sleeping. Even if she had been lingering in the yard, watching the house, how could she have known the perfect moment to enter when all the windows and curtains were closed? Unless
I got a really good camera. I thought it would be the perfect time to use it.
What the hell, Mom? That's a crime. Did you really think I'd be happy about this?
I was just worried about you, Greg.
This isn't concern. It's meddling. Enough is enough.
my worst fears were confirmed, and I started trembling uncontrollably. I realized I'd been watched this whole time. The terror drained the blood from my face, and my vision darkened. Greg gently rubbed my back, trying to comfort me.
I won't forgive anyone who hurts my family. Don't ever come near us again.
Please, Greg, don't say that.
Greg, you're my pride and joy. But now, you need to protect your own family. Don't worry about us.
Thank you.
I promise, I'll make sure she never bothers your family again. Move. Do whatever you need to do. We'll cover the costs.
Yeah, please.
Greg agreed with Bob's suggestion. Finally, we wouldn't have to live in fear anymore.
Greg, after all I've done to raise you, are you really going to abandon your own parents like this? You ungrateful child. You're a disgrace to the family. Come back home.
The disgrace here is you, Catherine. You couldn't let go of your son, and now you're trying to control your grandson too. Do you even realize what you've done?
Bob's voice boomed as he reprimanded Catherine. Her sudden shift in attitude was shocking, but what surprised me more was seeing Bob, usually so calm, get so angry.
Greg isn't a child anymore. Know your place.
Catherine's shoulders slumped as Bob led her away. She walked out of the house, defeated. The storm had finally passed. Just then, a loud cry echoed through the house. "Oh, it's time to feed Jack. I'm coming, sweetie." For mothers, there's no such thing as a break. But in a way, that's where happiness lies. Thanks to Bob's support, we successfully moved to a new home. The kids quickly adapted and are growing up strong and happy. I meet with Bob occasionally, without Catherine knowing, and he's always amazed at how fast grandchildren are growing. As for Catherine, she's apparently living a lonely life now, her appearance almost ghost-like after being cut off from her beloved son and grandson. She's apologized to us countless times, but I'm the one who feels grateful. If it weren't for Bob standing up to her and keeping an eye on things, we wouldn't have the peace we have today.
Mom, I'm home. Hi, Jack.
Welcome back. How was school?
It was fun. But I ran all the way because I couldn't wait to see Jack.
Make sure you don't hurt yourself. Go wash your hands.
Okay.
Since that incident, Emily seems to have become less fearful. Perhaps because her sensitivity to spirits has weakened, or maybe because she's embraced her role as a big sister. Whatever the reason, her courage that day is why we have the life we do now. I'm so thankful for her. Suddenly, I felt a soft little hand grasping my fingers.
Bah.
Wait, Jack, did you just say something? Emily, come here. Jack just spoke. Yes, being a mom keeps me busy. But one day, this busy time will come to an end. When that day comes, I don't want to feel lonely or have any regrets. I'm going to cherish these moments and raise my children with all the love I have. Gently, I squeeze that tiny hand in mine.